10, 9.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Get ready for two guys who can't handle the truth.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
But we can. Dave Palumbo, Chris Aceto. RxMuscle.com presents Heavy Muscle Radio.
Welcome to another episode of Heavy Muscle Radio. I'm Dave Palumbo, and I'm joined, as always, by the technician Chris Aceto on this January 6th. I can't believe I'm even saying this. 2020 evening, Chris. We are in the new decade to 2020. I don't think we ever get to say that again.
2020. I had my last year was New Year's Eve, and then the day before that was my birthday. And
I
then
wanted
the
to say happy birthday to you too. Yeah.
Thank you. 33.
I think I forgot to text you on your birthday, to be honest with you, but
that's okay. You're too busy, dude. There's some people who, if they remembered, they would text me.
I did. You know what the funny thing is? I did remember because
you read it on
you know who said it? Sid said it actually when we were doing Ask Dave. We actually gave you a birthday. I know you don't listen to the show. We gave you a birthday shout out on that, but I said, all right, I got to remember because we record that ahead of time. I'm like, I got to remember.
You can't remember shit.
No.
So even if you write it down, you will not remember to look at your notes.
What are you, 53?
53.
Yeah, you're
and then New Year's Eve was the next. 2 days later was New Year's Day, which is also my 19th wedding anniversary.
That's right. You got married, yeah, on New Year's Day. Wow, 19 years. Whew. Where did it go?
Yeah. I don't know where.
A long time.
Flies.
You ever see these people like that? They've been married like 60 years. Like, you know, these like their friends of yours and their parents are like, "Oh, my parents are celebrating 60 years together."
Oh, yeah.
They won't. No. They hate each other's guts, but
well, by that time they end up looking alike a lot of times.
Yeah. But that was like my grandparents. I think they made it 55 years before my grandmother died. But it's crazy. Think about it.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Because time flies. Time waits for nobody.
Time waits for no one. You're right.
Especially
in the bodybuilding world.
Yeah, I know. It's funny to see bodybuilding icons get old. Like, I look at Dorian, and for some reason, I always pictured... I don't think Dorian looks unhealthy. I don't think he looks old. I don't think he looks, like, disheveled or, like, not well kept. I think he looks tremendous and has made obviously a great transition from who he was, his identity as Mr. Olympia, to still holding on to being Mr. Olympia, but also doing other things. But when I see him, I'm like, God, he got old. I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. He's not, I still think of him as like 50 or 48 or,
How old is he? Is he almost 60?
He's got to be.
No, he's got to be in his late. He's probably in like 56. Yeah, he's probably like 56 or something like that. But all the guys we grew up with.
Or I'll see like Lee Haney. I'll see Lee Haney and say, God, he got old. I'm thinking, hey, Haney's got to be,
60,
maybe
right?
He is 60, yeah.
Well, John Romano is going to be 60 this year. Greg Valentino will be 60. And Jimmy the Bull just turned 60. So, I mean, I was doing a show with them the other day, like at our After Hours podcast, and I'm like the youngest guy at 51. I'm going to be 52, next month. But it's crazy. I mean, where did it all go? And I still think we're young. I still think.
Who was your idol? Pete Gromkowski, right?
Was my idol?
Because we ran into him one time. Remember?
Oh, right.
And I don't think you had kids yet. And he's like, "Hey, Dave, I just had a child."
You're right. He was 60 or something like that. You're right.
He was 60 or 62, and he just had a baby.
Yeah. It was impressive. He couldn't remember anything though, so that'll be me.
Yeah.
I think when you start forgetting stuff, you become ignorance is bliss. You become more peaceful. You can't remember all your aggravation.
Well, I think that's. I mean, you tend to. I think with men, they get Alzheimer's more than women. I think because it allows them to move peacefully into the 70s and 80s because if they remembered all those things that they went through,
right,
and all their struggles, they may just be worn out or just maybe too much mentally for them.
You're right. We can't handle as much stress as
way of hiding or covering all the stress that they went through.
True. It's a good theory. I like it. I don't know if it's true, but it's a good theory.
I just made it up.
I know. I like it. So I don't know if we announced. Did we announce that Oksana Grishina is making a comeback? I think I did last week. I interviewed her.
No, you did not.
A lot of people don't know. I didn't know why she had stopped. Remember, because you and I love watching her routines.
She's your all-time favorite.
I mean, we used to sit there and watch her routines in awe. I mean, it was really entertaining to actually go to the Olympia and see her perform, and then she just stopped. And I thought maybe she got hurt or something like that, but she had stopped. She wanted to try to have a kid, I guess, and she didn't get pregnant. And Dan called her up, Solomon, and said, he wanted to get her back last year. Mm-hmm. And I guess she was running the pole fitness or something like that she produces that whole show at the Olympia. And, she's, look, I have all this responsibility. It's just too much. And so they convinced her to do it this year. So she's coming back this year. She's got some kind of special routine she's got a great idea for. I said to her, hey, Oksana, do you run out of ideas? You've been doing this a long time. You have some epic routines I remember, from the pole routine she did to the Joker routine, the Black Swan routine. I remember all her routines. That's how emotionally impactful they are. I can't even remember what I had for breakfast, but I know her routines. And she's like, no, of course not. I never run. She's never going to admit she can write. She's like, I have hundreds of ideas, So she wouldn't tell me what the idea was, but she said it's very original. So we'll see. So that's exciting. That injects a little flavor back into that fitness division. It's worth the price of admission just to go watch her perform. I got news for you. If you go to the Olympia.
Where'd that cliche come from? Worth the price of admission. It never dies.
It's got to be a Broadway play, right?
Yeah. That's what I thought.
It's worth going to see the play. That's when people actually had to pay, right? To go see things. Now you can just watch it from your home. I love it. I subscribe to the Disney app. You should get that for your kids. It's like, if you buy the whole year up front, it's like $59. They're doing a special now. And you get everything that Disney owns. So you get all the Star Wars whole saga. You can watch all those movies. That's worth the price of
admission, right? That's worth the price of the app.
Oh, yeah. That's
for a lot of people.
That's all the movies. Plus, they have a new series now called The Mandalorian, which I somehow snuck in and watched the 8 episodes. It was actually produced by John LaFavre. I don't know if you know who he is. He was like a Matt Damon. He did all those movies back in the day when Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. I happen to like him. I think he's pretty funny. He produced the whole series, and it was good. It was like Star Wars 8 episodes, and I'm sure they'll probably do 10 seasons of this thing. It's like for people who like Star Wars, it's like heroin. You can't get enough of it, type of thing. And I guess they went back in time. When Yoda was like a baby, and I get 50 years. He's 50 years old, but that's like a baby because they live like 1,000 years. Yoda lives like 1,000 years or something like that. And so they have Baby Yoda, and now they're selling. I don't know if you see online all these Baby Yoda dolls they're selling. That's the new big thing. They're probably making more from the paraphernalia they're selling from the series than they actually are from the series. But this is something you can't go to the movies to see. You have to subscribe to the app. It's original programming. You can watch all the Avenger movies, everything from Marvel, anything that Marvel's produced. Disney owns it. You can go in there and watch that, and then of course you can watch all the Disney movies. All the Little Mermaid and all those. The Toy Story and all that stuff that they make is on there, and then they have their own original stuff. So it's great for kids and adults. I mean, it's brilliant on their part that they own all these commodities because it appeals to not just kids but adults. I hear they're killing it because who's not going to sign up for what does it come out to, like $6 a month or something like that? Yeah,
they are killing it.
And so I just go on my, I've been watching that, and the kids love to watch it. Logan will watch the Hulk and all the crazy movies whenever he's in an aggressive mood or anything like that. So it's to me it's brilliant. So I don't have to. It's great for people who have kids who necessarily can't leave the house and go to the movies. I'm sure the new Star Wars movie that just came out, which I don't want to know anything about because I've been avoiding any reviews of it because I know someone's going to ruin it for me. That'll be on, I'm sure, on the app pretty soon. Probably in another month. And so I'll just watch it on there. Now Netflix has all the original programming too on it. We talked about the Irishman, that movie that went right to that was a Netflix original. Mm-hmm. Pretty soon, no one's going to go to the movies anymore. I don't even know how the movies are going to make money. Maybe just
Well,
because of the experience, people like to
yeah, it's
just
the
go.
experience. People like to get out. I
Go
still,
out.
I still like to get out to the movies. And
Oh, I enjoyed it too. I certainly enjoyed it when before I had kids. But pretty soon, people get lazy. They don't even want to go out to clubs anymore. They kind of sit home on Saturday night and they just Instagram each other.
well, I've always marveled at Amazon, especially the Amazon stock. Closed at 18.24 last week for people
Wow, that's
following,
crazy.
Amazon. But I had to get ink the other day, and of course, the idea of just printer ink
Right.
in Florida, and I was thinking, gosh, where's the closest Staples or Office Max or Office Depot, whatever it is.
You better off just ordering on Amazon, right?
Yeah, I
Be
know.
the next day.
Yeah, I know. That's
The same
exactly
day,
it.
right? The same day they'll deliver it sometimes if it's in their
No,
warehouse.
it was there. This one that I needed, it took 2 days, but I still had 2 days worth of ink in my printer. But
Right.
the whole idea of having to get in the minivan and
Put the kids in
leave
there.
Miami Beach, go to Miami, find a parking spot, we'll go walk in. I mean, it's like a 2.5 hour event to get the ink.
Nothing. These stores are going to be dead. They're going to close every store. There's not going to be any brick and mortar
And we
stores.
did
anymore.
Uber Eats. I mean, it's absolutely insane, dude. The way the world's changed, right?
I think that the future of working out pretty soon will be that you will be able to work out with other people.
They have that already. Haven't you seen that? What's that? The Peloton, right?
Well, yeah, the Peloton is, but that's just pedaling. We have a Peloton in the house, and it is cool. My wife does the classes with the other people live, or she can do recorded classes. But I'm talking weight training. Ed Connors is I think we talked about this. Is
Yeah,
trying
you did.
to launch
You
this
mentioned
new,
it.
the new franchise where it's going to be virtual reality training, where you actually get on a machine and you're in virtual reality. You could be in Gold's Gym Venice training, with Charles Glass if you want. I mean, if they can somehow rig that up. And you're actually your electrodes hooked up to you. You have like cables in your hand, and you'll actually work out. You'll think you're on a bench press, but you'll really only have cables in your hand. It's crazy how this machine works. But this is the rudimentary, introductory, type of situation. Imagine the technology in 10 years for these virtual reality type gyms. I mean,
Yeah,
I could train with Guy Cisternino if I want. I'll be like, Guy, I'm going to my computer room. Get on my machine. Get on yours. Let's go train. No one will people won't even talk to each other pretty soon. What's his name? Mark Cuban said that if you're going to invest in anything, he said it's artificial intelligence now. He goes, people are falling behind the 8 ball because they just don't know enough about it. He's like, if I was going to start up a new company, he said I have no interest because I'm just too busy. But he said Alexa, the Amazon Echo, all those things,
Yeah.
the personal assistants that you can just in your house just talk to and say, hey, find this for me, find that for me. And they kind of they use Google and they search things and they'll turn lights on and stuff like that. And that's going to be, that's what he believes. People should work on doing apps for that or different programming to program it to do different things in your house and stuff like that. Personal assistants, basically, artificial intelligence assistants, I'm wondering how it would impact the bodybuilding world. Will people have their own personal trainers? Like you can get just Charles Glass can just sit at home. He doesn't have to go to the gym anymore and train people,
Yeah, I mean,
He'll just plug in. He'll just plug in. He'll put the virtual headset on and you got Charles training in a gym.
Well, what's that? What is this? There's some type of training contraption right now. I think it's like electrodes what you put on while you train.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with that? I'm not. I think Cody Montgomery uses it.
Oh, really? I don't know. Is it like
Yeah,
is
I
it
think
like
Rowe
the old?
has used it.
Is it the old electromuscular stimulation?
It's something like that, but you put it on. Brad Rowe uses it too, I think. Brad.
While he's
Oh,
working out, or like at home?
I think it's while you work out.
I don't know.
So,
I remember I was obsessed with making my calves bigger because I had big legs, but my calves just didn't grow. So my roommate, we rented this house when I was in medical school, and my roommate had this machine. Remember that old? Remember when we were like kids in the old Weeder magazines? They'd have that guy. He looked like he was from like Bulgaria or something like that, and he had like all these electrodes hooked up to every
yeah, I
body
do
part.
remember it. Yeah.
To this little TENS machine, and it would It would
Test the muscle.
And but he was huge. The guy. And they made it. You would think everyone believed that the machine made him huge, right? Because you believed everything you read in the magazines back then. And so my roommate, but it was expensive. It was like $100 the machine. My roommate's parents had money. He actually bought the machine. So I said I used to put them on my calves, and I would literally
crank it up,
full blast for hours as I was studying in med school. I mean, literally, I'd keep mine for 2 hours at a time. And it really makes the muscle contract hard, too. I don't think it builds any muscle tissue, but I'll tell you this much. I definitely had good mind-muscle connection for 2 hours of my calves contracting. And my calves were sore after, but
I thought you had pretty good calves.
Toward the, once I got big, I did. I brought them up a lot. But when I first started, I had very high calves. And so they came up a lot, I remember this was after I stopped competing. I was in the gym one day, and some guy came up to me. He's like, "You have the greatest," like he was complimenting my calves because I was doing like standing calf raises. I said, "You know what?" I said, "Of all the compliments I've ever gotten throughout my bodybuilding career, that was the best compliment of all time." Because I had weak calves. To have someone say you have great calves, I wish I did calves. No one, ever said that. You look at a guy like Eric Fankhauser, Paul DeMeo. Those guys have Matarazzo. Those guys had fucking awesome calves.
Matarazzo had the wackiest calves.
Right? I mean, they were almost like they looked like
tumors.
They weren't even like shaped that well. They just were retarded looking,
Yeah.
DeMeo had great calves, though. Really, really good calves. I think Jay had really good calves, too, didn't he?
He had very good calves. Of course he did.
Brad Rowe had great
calves.
Speaking about Brad Rowe, he had great calves.
Brad's long. I don't like long calves.
Oh, you don't like the ones that go all the way down?
No, I like the Jeff King had great calves.
Yeah. Probably the freakiest calves I've ever seen, though, belonged to Eric Fankhauser. You wouldn't like his one.
Yeah, the freakiest, yeah.
And you know who has, and we all know, Flex Lewis has insane calves, too.
Yeah, he does have crazy calves.
They're retarded looking. I was in an airport with him walking, and I'm like, and I don't stare at anything. Nothing really gets me like, oh my God, look, Kovacs did that. I used to look at him and like, holy mackerel. But Flex's calves, because he's short, look ridiculous. They're so big. He probably doesn't even train them anymore.
And who has the worst calves?
There's a lot of people with bad calves. We should ask Lonnie Teeper, right? Who did he? Oh, Dennis Wolf. He hated Dennis Wolf's calves, didn't he?
Yeah.
He was always complaining. Oh, Wolf shouldn't win. He has no calves. We're like, well, what about the rest of his body? What about the rest of his body, Lonnie?
It's funny you don't see who has weak calves in the top 10. Oh, his calves are weak.
That's a good question. A lot of short guys now. So the short guys always have good calves. I've never seen a short guy with bad calves. I'm trying to think. Roden's got good calves, right?
Yeah, he's got pretty good calves, I guess.
I mean, they're not huge, but they're not like weak, I wouldn't say.
Yeah, he's got small ankles, so it don't matter.
Right.
You know what I mean? You got small joints, you don't even need big muscle.
It's an illusion. That's exactly right. It's 100% an illusion. How's what's his name's kid? Does Curry have calves? I don't think his calves are that great.
Does he have legs?
His legs are not that great either, but maybe that's why his
They're
calves
pretty
are
good, actually. His quads are actually pretty good.
He's got good fronts, yeah, the fronts. He's a little shallow in the adductor compartment, that inner thigh. I think if he had more meat in there, I think his legs would look a lot more impressive.
Well, he's got the weaker of the legs compared to the probably Hadi, who was third, and Bonac, who was second. Yeah. So that was some of the knock against him.
Well, I mean,
there was other knocks as well against him.
I find that usually guys who make it to a very high level, who we complain about their legs, it's not the quads. The quads usually look good. Everyone who's in an elite level of bodybuilding has good quads. They lack the girth of their legs, and I think what a lot of people don't realize, and they all think they need bigger quads. They need more adductor, which is that inner thigh. I had a huge adductor.
How do you build adductors?
It's more of a wide. You have to open up your stance. I think a lot of guys think that they want to get more sweep on their legs, and they do everything close. But actually, it's a mistake. You have to open up the stance, because when your legs are touching each other, you can't work those inner adductors. They don't work. it throws everything forward onto the quads. But when you open the stance up, like almost like a powerlifting stance, you engage more of the glute and the adductors muscles, and I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize, and it's a mistake that they make. They do the opposite, and I've had people come to me and ask me, well, what should I do for my legs? And I'm like, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, everything close. I'm like, why? They're like, oh, the judges that I need more sweep. And the problem is the legs are an illusion. A lot of times sweep is not really what they're lacking. They're lacking the girth on their legs. Yeah. Their legs are too straight up and down, and that's because there's no inner thigh that adds that like third dimension to the whole quad, the whole leg structure, I think. So I think if more people did a little bit wider stance, and when you go wider, you can go down further. You have much better range of motion, and I think that's another thing people lack, because they don't do the full range of motion, and the reason is because if your legs are almost touching when you're squatting, or leg pressing or anything, you just can't come all. You don't have the flexibility. Open your stance up, watch that flexibility increase now, and now you can go down a lot further. And so I think that's a huge mistake people make. Sometimes also people have very flat feet and they can't push from their heels, and you know how important that is. If you don't drive through the heels, you don't engage the right muscles, and that's a lot of times just a biomechanical problem, and that could be fixed. And I'm always talking about the custom orthotics. I think that every bodybuilder should go to their local whatever chiropractor, podiatrist, and have them make a custom pair of orthotics, which is an insert that goes into their shoes. Wear them all the time, whether you're training or not. It's just going to correct your gait. So yeah, I think orthotics are really, really helpful for people who are looking to get, an added, I guess, growth spurt of their legs. I think a lot of times they're just using the wrong muscle groups because their leg biomechanics are just off. And custom orthotics are really something you have to do. And the good thing is they kind of last 2 years. Every year and a half to 2 years you can replace them. Also, another big thing I think a lot of bodybuilders don't do, and you probably didn't do it because you're a cheapo. You got to replace your sneakers every 3 months.
Oh, I only had one pair for 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years. I figure you probably still wear the same pair.
I have a pair of sneakers from 16 years ago.
You still wear them from 16 years ago?
No, because I don't wear them all the time. So sometimes I wear them.
It's one thing with you. Like I have shoes. Shoes you could last your whole life, but if you're wearing sneakers every day, you wear the same pair for a year. They stop working after a while. Mm-hmm. Luckily for me, I have like a built-in biomechanical defect. So if my sneakers if my orthotics were breaking down, I would start getting knee pain. If I start getting like weird, hip pain or something like that, I usually know my sneakers are broken down. And you forget a lot of times it's not even a money thing. You just forget to buy sneakers. Now I know people, those guys out there who buy like 6,000 pairs of Nikes.
Of course.
They're like Nike addicts, and they have like all these shoes, and they can wear a different pair every single day. So those people never have to buy shoes.
Who's the biggest sneaker bodybuilders? We should find out.
Dexter,
Phil, or Dexter? Wait, I was trying to get to Dexter. Jay, Phil, or Dexter? Who has more sneakers?
All right, let me just say this: Dexter was a Nike freak, but I think it's recently, or at least in the last couple of years, I think he laid off it. I think he stopped the collection. I think he got into a new hobby or something like that. So I don't think he's the biggest one anymore. Is Jay a big sneaker guy? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's a big sneaker guy. Yeah, of course.
Like how many pairs does he have?
He's got the big closet, so you got to fill it up.
Oh, really? So he buys like a lot of pairs?
Yeah, I would say he does.
What size does he wear of sneaker?
I don't know. Maybe 11. I don't think he's.
Oh, see, that's easier. Yeah, with me, thank God, I wear such a crazy size. I can't get that many different pairs. I never was a sneaker freak though, but I will tell you who I think is the biggest sneaker person that I know, and he might be listening to the show because I know he listens to a lot of what I do. My friend Martinez Higgins in North Carolina. This guy has talk about sneaker addiction. He has so many pairs of sneakers that he actually has sneaker connections. Like he's bought in so many Nike pairs that when they come out, or they're going to come out with like a special edition one, they like call him, he's on the list, the preferred customer list. We're giving you the heads up. We're coming out with they come out with these like limited, like 100 pairs we're going to make. That's it. And he's always, he might be the biggest sneaker guy I know, but I know Dexter was huge. I've seen, when I did a day in the life of Dexter Jackson back when I was with Muscular Development back in the day, I was in his closet. He had hundreds of pairs of Nikes in there.
I didn't know you did a day in the life
I
of
did.
Dexter.
I spent the whole day with him.
Did you go to Jacksonville or did you go to California?
I went to Jacksonville. This is when I was with MD. Blackman and we all brainstormed. We wanted to do this day in the life of thing. So Bill Comstock, who was working for them at the time, he was doing photos, stage photos. He was doing the video. If you remember, we did that Kai Green video. Well,
it was the best of all time.
Thank you. We went on this tour. We hit. I don't even know if I can remember all the people. I think it was 5 people. We flew all around the country, Bill and I, filming these people. We did Kai Green, I think we started with. We went to his, the neighborhood, the Brooklyn neighborhood he was living in. Everyone remembers that video. We went to Branch Warren in Texas for 2 days. I think we were with him for 2 days because we went hunting with them, if you remember. And then I went and did something at his house and everything like that. He's not living in that same house anymore, but it was one of the newer houses he had bought. Then we went to then we flew right from Branch to Dexter in Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. We spent a day with him there. Followed him around the whole day. He was driving his 7 Series BMW back then, that candy apple red one he had, which was really nice with the crazy rims. Spent the day with him there. Who else did we do? I'm trying to think.
Muscle Tech people.
It wasn't just muscle. We just tried to pick the most popular. Oh, Victor Martinez. We went, and I think that's when Victor had torn his Achilles tendon, or I might be confusing it. I know we went and did something with him too, and they were enormously popular. No one had done anything like that. It was really, really original stuff. This was when videos first started. People didn't didn't do that stuff.
Pre-YouTube.
Yeah, we wasn't even YouTube. YouTube wasn't even really big then.
Pre-YouTube.
You're right. It was, and it was just on the MD site. Unfortunately, I wish it was on YouTube because those videos were classics. I didn't even know what I was doing. I was just winging it. But it was fun. I would go to the gym with them and train. We did Branch was really elaborate. I mean, we literally followed him from the minute he woke up to he owned a personal training gym. And it was really nice. It was gorgeous, actually. It wasn't big, but he really outfitted it with amazing equipment. He actually wound up selling that gym, but he was training people out of it. This is before he was super successful. He was very well known, and he hadn't come in second at the Olympia yet or anything like that. But he really. He had a nice gym there, I remember that. And then, of course, we went to Metroflix with him and filmed him there, and we went hunting with him. But, yeah, we went with Dexter. We spent the whole day with him. It was good. Took him to his massage place. We went to the restaurant where he got all his food. Dexter wasn't eating diet food. He was eating regular food. But it was, you had a restaurant to cook all his food for him. It was pretty funny. And where else did we go with him? We went to his house, and he showed me the whole house. Of course, his sneaker collection, and it was the whole Nike. He had all the Nike jerseys too.
You know why it was so successful? Those videos, what? Really, because besides being authentic and well done, and I said that they were pre-YouTube, they were also pre-Instagram. So you never get to know. Right. You would never know what. Dexter could take 10,000 pictures this week and post them on Instagram of his pictures and his BMW. People would know it.
No, yeah. Even Facebook wasn't big back then, really. It was just getting started. So it was literally, the only place you can get information like this would be to go to Muscular Development website. The only other competition we had really was Bodybuilding.com, who at the time was doing a lot of coverage of people, if you remember. That's when the DeLucas owned it.
Isn't that funny? Then you were... After all that, Bleckman pulled the plug on you.
Bleckman hated the DeLucas over at bodybuilding.com because he had all these athletes under contract, right? Like the exclusives.
Yeah, everybody.
And bodybuilding.com would find a way to do videos and training stuff with these athletes, because what they would do is they would go to the supplement companies that they worked for, and they'd say, "Oh, we're just going to cover your guy for MHP, for Victor, for MHP." And so they would under the guise of doing like an MHP, advertisement to them, they would get them training and interview them. And so they would go around Bleckman's, exclusivity, and they were our competition. So I'd be, Steve, you got to do something. He's like, the lawyers. That's how I knew. He likes to send lawyer letters out, but he doesn't go any further than that. Dude,
idle threats. Well,
idle
you know,
threats.
because when you send a lawyer letter out, a lot of times people fold their cards and get scared.
Not bodybuilding.com. They used to throw it in the garbage.
The flip side is they send you something back, and that means you've issued your threat, in this case Blackman's, and if you follow through, it's going to cost you money.
Sure. Unless you think you could win, but it's still going to cost you money. He's like, they have lawyers on staff there. I'm like, well, you do too. They just charge you by the hour. I said $300 every time they do something over there. So it's pretty funny. I did an interview. You got to watch this with John Hansen. We did the history of Arnold versus Sergio, the battles that went on between them. All the competitions. Sure. Hansen's like a wealth of knowledge when it comes to this stuff. I'm sure he must have read this stuff somewhere, but the fact that he has the recall of what happened.
He was like the recall, like he's sitting there right in the audience, right?
Yeah, it's not like he has notes in front of him. The guy knows all the history of this stuff and about Arnold and Sergio and the crazy battles.
How many times? Can you imagine how many times John Hansen, I don't mean this in a negative way, has gone to bed because he started training 14 years old, 13 years old.
Yeah. From
the age of 14.
40 years.
To 28 with the Bodybuilding magazine in bed reading it.
Oh my God.
Because that's what when there was no access to anything.
You're right.
Magazines back in the day, you'd read them and you'd bring them into bed and, read them and then fall asleep with them and wake up the next day and go to the gym. Hansen, that's why he probably just absorbed all that stuff all those years. And
you got to remember, Hansen was from Chicago, which is where Sergio lived. And you know what the funny thing was when Sergio first, he told the story about how Sergio, he was a Cuban, and under the regime of Castro, I guess he was a power lifter or some kind of strong, weightlifter, and I guess he was in the U.S. something like that, and he ran for the embassy or something like that. He to get asylum. People don't remember that back in the day when if you were, with the Soviet Union or communist countries, you had to try to escape, and the only way you could escape is if you were traveling to the U.S. to compete or something like that, and you can ask for asylum. And I said, well, why did Sergio how did he wind up in Chicago? I said, he's like, well, originally he was in Miami, which is where
that's right. I knew that. I knew he was in Miami.
You know why he moved to Chicago?
What, did he get a job?
No, he liked the name. He liked the name Chicago. He thought it sounded cool. So he moved to Chicago. He became, he had a couple menial jobs originally, and then he eventually became a police officer. But he always worked. John said he never didn't have a full-time job. And sometimes he would work crazy long overtime hours, and he would still go to the gym.
Well, it's like Coleman. Coleman was a police officer and always worked, and he always wanted to keep the job too, but he had to travel for his endorsements.
And Sergio wasn't making nearly the money Ronnie was making. Sergio was, and Sergio would do these 3-hour workouts, evidently, according to what Hansen told me. He was like an overtrainer, type of thing, because he had no idea what he was doing. He just would go to the gym and train.
Well, maybe he was doing something right for his body.
I guess.
It seemed to work.
I'm sure he didn't need to do any cardio, with doing a 3-hour workout every day. I think he trained every day too, or something like that. I don't think he ever took days off. It was one of those Max Charles, Cedric McMillan, instinctive training, schedules. But if people want some good historical stories, it was a great interview. That's on the RxMuscle site right now. I also did a little sneak for New Year's Eve. I gave a gift to the audience, to our viewers. I did every week. I do a Dave Palumbo experience. I have the Dave Palumbo experience app that people can subscribe to. It's $29 a month. You get access to all my videos and all my writings I've ever done, and then we put up a workout every week for people to do. And then I answer everyone's questions on this. So you could ask unlimited questions, and then I take the best ones and I do a Q&A exclusive of the app. So I did one of the first one of the year, and I actually put it up on our YouTube channel just so people can kind of get an idea of what they get extra. It's like the behind the scenes stuff you don't really get. It's extras I guess, questions answered. The good thing about the way we answer questions on the app, however, is no matter who asks the question, we put the question and my answer up in a forum up there, so everyone sees everyone's questions and their answers. Because a lot of times you don't even know what the right question you want to ask is, but you might have someone else might ask a question that you are like, oh yeah, that is, I was wondering about that. So it gives the app members like almost like a community the access to be able to see all the questions and answers that I do, which seems to be pretty popular. And the only other thing I want to mention is that I have the Dave Palumbo experience. The Dave Palumbo. I get so many Dave Palumbo things. The Secrets to Becoming a Diet Guru course coming up on January 25th in Cape Coral, Florida. Great opportunity to get out of the cold of the north and come down to sunny Cape Coral, Florida, where it's 80 degrees every day, and you can take the class. It's a 10-hour class on Saturday, January 25th, right in my little studio we built. You get to see the RxMuscle studios, the Species Nutrition offices, and you're going to learn a lot about everything related to diet, nutrition, supplements, performance-enhancing drugs, all that kind of great stuff. And we have, I think, 3 spots left. So
Out of how many?
I usually make the class limited to about 15 people, just to keep it nice and small. But they sell out fast, especially the winter ones, because everyone wants to come down and get out of the cold. So
Anyone coming from someplace crazy far away?
I haven't looked yet, but there's always someone coming. We've had Australia, we've had China, we've had Dubai, we've had, pretty much Timbuktu. No, I've had people from Scandinavian countries come. I noticed that the colder nations tend to come during the winter months here because to get out of the cold. But we have, like I said, we have 3 spots left, and you can sign up at DavePalumbo.com. Speaking of Dorian Yates, you mentioned earlier, I did another interview with Arnie List and Ed Connors, and did we talk about this on the last show?
You did mention it last week.
I did mention it. I did mention it. I was teasing it.
He's worried about Dorian.
Yeah, Joe didn't want to sign Dorian because of the tattoos he had on his hands, the skinhead tattoos. So there was it was a pretty interesting interview, and there's more than just that in the interview. That's up on the site if people want to check that out.
Jay, I don't want to plug Jay like he needs a plug. Cutler, but maybe he's been listening to your show. Haven't we been talking a lot about Ed Connor's house? You've been talking a lot about his house.
Yeah.
Jay goes and revisits it, and I think he's like right out in front of it on his YouTube station.
Oh, yeah. That's great. That's awesome. Ed probably loved that, I'm sure.
Yeah, Dave Brole sent me a picture of Jay in front of the house.
That's awesome.
And I said, you never sell a beach house ever.
Yeah, I know.
You know why?
Why?
Because
it only goes up in value. Yeah.
It only goes up in value, and then people will do this to you 2 and 3 years later. They don't know you sold the house. Oh, how's the beach house? And you're like, I sold it. They'd be like, Dave, how's the kids? Oh, we gave them away.
Yeah.
What do you mean you gave them away?
You know what the funny thing is? I love the house.
We weren't thinking.
I loved that house, and I stayed there for 2 weeks straight, and I probably couldn't find that house for the life of me if I was in Venice, California now.
Well,
Jay probably remembers exactly how he got there.
Jay remembers everything. I told you a couple years ago I was at the Tampa Pro Show with, speaking of Sergio Oliva Jr. And the hotel we stayed at had like a keypad to the parking area, and the combo was like 14839.
Right.
And I had it written down on a piece of paper, and I couldn't even remember like the 14. And I was thinking, I was parking it at like midnight one night, my rental car, and I just started laughing to myself because I was thinking, this is something Jay would have done like 10 years before, 14689. And then he could come back 10 years later to the same hotel, and he would remember the code.
He'd know the code, yeah.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
I probably could find it if I walked the boardwalk, and I because you can see it from the boardwalk too. Mm-hmm. I would look for that rooftop. He had the rooftop deck where all the bodybuilders would come and sunbathe nude basically up there, so they wouldn't have tan lines. That was the whole. It's like all the bodybuilders love to come here so they don't get tan lines. I'm like, Ed, I'm not tanning without a suit on up there. Sorry. Titus used to come. He would come every day. I walked up there.
Yeah, you told me that.
Fucking completely naked, the guy.
I'm Greg Titus from Texas. I'm going to be Mr. Olympia.
But yeah, that house was unbelievable. It was outrageous, and I'm sure it's even better now. Whoever probably owns it now probably upgraded it even more.
It's probably insane. It's probably insane.
Literally, you would look out the back window, and you can see them filming Baywatch, the TV show, which was right. Remember they used to film it right there?
Yeah.
On the beach. Crazy. I mean, literally, you can just watch it right from his house. I mean, that's how crazy it was. And that was, that show ran. How many seasons did that show run?
Yeah.
Actually, I've talked about my crazy doctor friend, Dr.
Which
Mike.
crazy doctor?
You never met him, but he passed. He was like the IFBB official doctor. He was friends with Wayne DeMilia. His sons actually were producers of Baywatch. I don't know how they did it, but they got in there somehow, and they became like the producers over there, and or associate producers or whatever. And they were on the set all the time, the whole day. And they filmed it right there, literally right next to Venice Beach. What's that? What's the next beach over next to it? If you're looking at the water and to your left, towards Ted's house. What is that?
That's
not Malibu, is it?
No, to the left.
Yeah, heading towards Santa Monica. I guess Santa Monica would be much further down, but I thought the next beach might have been Malibu, but I'm not sure.
Can't remember.
Someone will correct me, I'm sure. But it was like Venice, and then the next beach, and then they all have different names as you walk down the beach and down the boardwalk. But it's still, it doesn't. Gold's Gym is not what it used to be, and Venice is not where all the bodybuilders live. But you walk that boardwalk, it's still got the same energy, of all the little places there and little trinkets you can buy on the thing. And now everything's medical marijuana. You can buy marijuana like everywhere there. I mean, and if you don't have a card, you can buy the card for like $25 or something like that, so that you can buy the marijuana. But it's like such a subculture of everything, and it's like a mishmash. And if you walk around without a shirt on, you're a bodybuilder, you got 20-inch arms. People might take pictures of you, but you're not going to be anything. You're not going to stick out there. There's so much going on that boardwalk. That was something that you when you would go there, I mean, you had to just experience it. It was like palpable, the energy there. It's like, I got to be here,
Yeah, I always said Gold's Gym Venice was the best place to be for dieting, because you could go low carbs and not fear or feel like you don't have energy.
No,
because
can't.
You could walk into the gym, on any type of low calorie diet and be energized.
Yeah, me, I like to sleep late, especially when I was competing. When I would get to Venice, I couldn't wait to wake up in the morning and get to the gym. Literally, I would get up at like 5 in the morning, and I was like, cooking food and heading over to Gold's. I didn't want to miss anything. It was like, it was incredible. And like you said, you didn't have it. You weren't tired. You just trained because you were just like so pumped up by everything that was going on. And a lot of people went there early in the morning. It wasn't like you would go there and no one would be there. It would be packed,
it'd be busy.
No matter what time you went there, it was packed.
I used to get there at 5, I think 5:15.
And
Charles would always. It would be shocking. Charles would always be there before me. He'd be honest to God, he'd be the absolute positively first person there to open the gym.
He probably went to bed at 8 o'clock at night, I bet you.
Oh,
right?
I don't
People
know.
go to bed early there because you know what? They're trying to stay on New York time, but they're 3 hours behind. So if you wake up at 5 in the morning there, it's like 8 in the morning in New York. You're actually missing stuff. So you got to actually get up earlier than that. You got to get up like 4 in the morning there to kind of emulate what New York is.
Well, if you're selling stocks and that type of thing,
right? But I'm saying even just in general, just to be a part. That's how California just works earlier there. By 8 o'clock, there's nothing going on. I mean, unless you're like a nightclub, guy. Everyone just goes to sleep. It's like, all right, well, everyone in New York is asleep. There's no one to talk to. This is before, of course, the internet and Instagram and all that stuff. So you just go to sleep early, and then wake up early. It's, all right, you get on that whole schedule. And even I would get in that rhythm. The guy who would go to bed 4 in the morning in New York and wake up at noon, I was in the whole go to bed, 9 o'clock, get up, 5 in the morning, and start my day.
Didn't you ever wonder when you first went to Gold's, what do people do?
Well, I figured they either have to be doing, gay stuff or selling drugs because no one works.
That's right.
No one had a job.
What do people do? One of the first things that I thought of, outside of people like quote bodybuilding in Gold's Gym Venice, just like people like, oh, it's like 11 and people are training in the gym and like
Hanging out.
not a care in the world, and then they're gonna walk down to down to the Rose Cafe, whatever.
Right, but I can understand like
what do people do?
Yeah, well, the top bodybuilders had contracts, but what did the regular guys do? And they all sold GH and steroids, and they worked at the nightclub. Some of them at night, right? And some of them worked at the gym training people.
Security, as Arnie List said, a lot of people did work security. Like
Cormier did that, right?
Yeah,
I think Flex and Rico did that too.
Yeah, Cormier used to bounce too.
That's what I meant. They worked the nightclubs, a lot of them. That's when Cormier's got a story where didn't he almost get into a fight with Mike Tyson?
Yeah, I heard that, but I never heard it from him.
No, he told it to me once. I don't remember the details. It was. I think people made a bigger deal out of it than it was. But I think Cormier was tough. I don't know if he would have beaten up Mike Tyson. And Tyson had his whole crew of guys there too, so I'm sure it would have been a disaster.
We could have done a double header: Tyson versus Cormier, Palumbo versus Nola.
There you go. I lose no matter what. So, what else is going on this week? Oh, Jimmy the Bull, I mentioned earlier, turned 60 years old. So we got. We already had a 60th. We got him back on the After Hours podcast. I had him on when he was 60. He turned 60 2 weeks ago, but then he came on this past week, and he was the angry bull again. A lot of people wanted to see the old Jimmy back. Well, Jimmy had some guy staying in his house or something like that. This kid, and the kid had a dog, and the dog was taking a dump on Jimmy's carpets and peeing on his bed, and Jimmy just lost his mind. If anyone likes classic Jimmy the Bull, this is about as close as you're going to get to it. The episode is called Jimmy Loses It Over McDonald's, because he also had a fight with someone at McDonald's. But classic Jimmy the Bull stuff that people will just love. So that was on the After Hours podcast. So people should check that out. So even though nothing's going on in the bodybuilding world, we had a lot going on.
Well,
we keep the stuff going. Matter of fact, I want to start some iron debates up again this year. Now that you're back from Florida.
Yeah, what topics though?
Well, we got the Arnold Classic coming up in a couple.
Well, that would be a discussion more than a debate.
Well, I'm sure there's some topics out there that we can talk about.
It's going to be a good Arnold Classic.
I think it might be one of the best ever.
I agree.
We got the whole lineup up there. I mean, almost essentially, People, look, let's face it. Even though Big Ramy has never produced what we all want him to produce or be the bodybuilder we want him to be, he's still the most exciting thing up there because of his size. I mean, you can't not embrace that, right?
Yeah. Well, there's he's got, besides the size, he's likable, right? I mean,
yeah,
that doesn't mean other people are not likable who are in the show. Just he's well liked, and then add to that, he hasn't competed or did not compete last year, so it creates a lot of excitement for the show. And
I think we're all waiting for him to show up, and he's still young enough that he can.
How old is he?
He might. Didn't we figure out he might be the youngest guy up there? I don't know.
How old is he? He just told me how old he was.
What is he, like 32?
Nope.
31?
Nope.
Tell me.
35.
Is he that old already?
Yeah.
Oh my God, we're getting old. I remember when he first did that in New York Pro, he was like 28.
Yeah, but what was it? 2013 was the first year as a New York Pro.
There you go, 7 years ago. You're right, 35, which is still young for bodybuilding, right?
Yeah,
most of the guys winning are in their 40s.
Jay was 28 when he was in 2001. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
That's young. Or flip side, how old was Lee Haney when he retired?
Well, 33. But you know what? You make a good point. You know why? Because I didn't realize 7 years had passed. So Ramy's not... He's one of the younger guys still out there, but he's not young anymore. So we expected him when he was 28 that we were going to see the next coming of Mr. Olympia. And it really hasn't happened. I mean, does a bodybuilder after 7 years, I mean, does something happen to their body and it changes and maybe they're just not the same bodybuilder? I mean, are we looking at a Ramy that doesn't have the same potential he did when he was, 28 years old?
Well, there's something to be said for young, like fresh muscle. You know what I mean?
He had that. He had that when he first popped out. Is it still there or no?
Is it still there? I think it's still there. He had the shoulder injury. We'll see. We'll see. We don't know, right?
Maybe that's why we're expecting something that might never happen, because maybe he's not the same body he was 7 years ago. The big and look, I was one of the big guys. Dave.
We're never going to be excited about Ramy until he brings in like 3. I'm dead serious. If he's peeled, people will say, "Oh, we like him big, and he's going to be big." And if he's big, they've got to say, Dexter's harder.
Yeah,
Bonac is harder. So our expectations for him, meaning bodybuilding fans, is like off the charts.
We want him shredded at 330, which is
that's right. And 280 and shredded doesn't work. 270 shredded doesn't work. 330 and not shredded doesn't work. We want to see something we have never seen.
I think the best big Ramy, and I'm not just saying this because people are going to say, "Oh, you just say it because the best big Ramy I saw was not at the Olympia that you helped him at. Although the night show, he was pretty close. It was the week after when he won that. What was that? The Arnold Europe?
Well, he got second. Arnold Spain.
Who beat him at the Arnold Spain?
Dexter. That was a controversy.
Oh, right. That was the best I think we've seen him. Would you agree?
Without a shadow of a doubt.
He was ridiculous there. I mean, he was shredded, the hardest he's ever been, and he was full.
Well, he's chasing that.
Yeah, that's his best, I think, ever. And that's why I was shocked that he stopped working with you after that. But all the political maneuvering that went on was probably the worst thing that ever happened.
How'd that work out?
Terrible, and you predicted it too. I got to tell you.
But
that was the best he was, and you know what? He was really good at that Olympia. At the prejudging, he was flat, but at the night show, he was really good. And I mean, he was grainy. He had glutes.
The night show that year.
He was wacky. I mean, if he would have just progressed from that point on, wow, who knows where he would have gone. But that was the best I thought he was. But you know what, your body, you know what happens, Chris. You hit 35, and when you get injuries, they don't heal anymore like they used to. When you're in your 20s, you get injured, right? Doesn't it heal all the time? It's like, holy mackerel. I never thought I'd recover from that torn groin muscle.
Yeah, you know what happens when you're in your 20s? You take like ibuprofen for like 3 days, ice it, and then you're like rock and rolling in the gym.
Yep.
And then in your 30s, you start to hear people say, "Well, what I do to work around it is when you're working around injuries,
you're not making improvements anymore after that."
That's right.
You're
compensating, and something gives.
Look, we all get hurt. The bigger guys just don't last
get hurt
as
easier
long.
too.
Yeah. That's why I think Dexter really lasted as long as he did, because he was he's big, but for his frame, but he's not enormous. I mean, we're talking about, what is he, 235 maybe on stage?
Well, Dexter's never had, I think, was it Dexter who said he never had an injury?
Never had a serious injury, yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, but he doesn't need to, and he doesn't try to push his body beyond what it's capable of. And I think when you start pushing the envelope, look, you got to do that to be your best, right? But if you're structurally so good already, like a Dexter, that you don't have to do that. Like Sean Ray, take him for instance. I always criticized when he was competing. I said, the guy looks the same every freaking year. He never makes improvements. But you know what? He didn't need to, really. He knew that if he got too big, it would throw his symmetry
Balance.
off.
Yeah.
And so he just did what worked for him, and he always looked great on stage, and he was always the top guy. And probably had he been 10 pounds muscularly bigger, he probably wouldn't have placed any better. Maybe worse.
Well, I mean, if he was 10 pounds bigger and had the same level of conditioning, he probably would have placed higher.
But the flow have been as good to his body? Would his waist have gotten bigger? I don't know. Would it have ruined his look? I don't know if that he felt it would have. And I don't know. We don't know. We'll never know. If Phil Heath would have stayed small and pulled the Sean Ray tactic, stayed the way he looked in 2011, would he have had better longevity and been a better bodybuilder? I don't know.
Yeah, he may have. It's hard to say.
Because he didn't have a super wide shoulders, so his symmetry was better when his waist was smaller and he wasn't so overblown, The guys that can get overblown and still look good are the guys with the huge structures like Jay, Wolf, Gunther, even Ronnie. But Ronnie had a short torso, so that his symmetry started getting a little weird, when he got big. Yes, the answer to the question is you have to do what works best for your body.
100% agree. Play up your strengths at the end of the day.
I knew that I didn't have great symmetry. In terms of structure, I knew I was a little narrow on top. And the only way I was going to ever do well in bodybuilding was to just I knew I can get ridiculously hard. I just needed to be freaky big. And so I played to that card. And it worked for me because, that's what I needed. And every time I try to bring my waist down or try to play the symmetry game on stage, I always did terrible.
Yeah, kills your physique, right?
Killed all the advantages I had over people.
Anytime I hear someone give advice to a big guy like bring your waist down, I think, oh my God, this person's clueless.
Yeah, I stopped. Someone told me stop squatting, so I stopped squatting for the one calendar year.
Lose your freak factor.
I lost the freak factor, exactly. My legs went down in size. They didn't have that round billowy look anymore to them, and even though they were still big, and it just. Yeah, my waist came down 2 inches, but it didn't translate on stage. You couldn't see it, Interesting. So it goes back to the old saying, play to what your strengths are. Don't try to play someone else's game. Don't try to play Dexter's game if you're not Dexter, Don't try to play, the Cutler game if you have a small structure. You can't hold that much muscle on it. And that's unfortunately for bodybuilders, it's hard to have a reality check with yourself and and be smart enough to say, okay, this is what works for me. Just like these classic guys, I would be tempted, if I'm doing well in classic to want to go to the open, because it's a natural progression. You want to get bigger. So I give some of these classic guys the credit, for staying in that class and nurturing that. Speaking of which, George Peterson obviously moving up to that open class. How do you think he's going to do in the 212?
I think he's going to do well, and I base that solely on it's funny he asked that. When I first saw George Peterson, he won the what, Dave? You tell me. Classic Nationals.
Right.
And I remember specifically asking him, because I didn't know who he was, did you compete before in bodybuilding because you look like a bodybuilder, but you have really good lines that play well to this division? Classic. He was smaller then too.
Yeah.
Than he's been in the last year or two.
Because he had to make a lighter weight class back then.
So, I figure if I'm asking him when he won the Classic, were you a bodybuilder before, because he quote looks like a bodybuilder, then I think that means that he's going to do really well in the 212.
Yeah. Oscar used to train him back in the day.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Oscar Arden originally. And then he didn't like the way he felt as big, because he had just started. I think he got big too fast. And so he stopped, I think he was natural for a couple of years competing. And then Justin ran into him in the gym. And I guess they had just started Classic, and he said, you should do Classic. And so they started doing that, and I think he was using very little supplements at that point. And he was, he has a really nice lines, and he gets really hard, and he did well. And then they raised the weight class a little, which was a benefit to him, obviously. And he just naturally, progressively got bigger, because that's what happens to a lot of physiques. And like you said, he has more of a bodybuilder-ish physique, and he started as a bodybuilder, so you're right. The progression was definitely something that we expected to happen. I didn't know if he would allow himself to do it. It's hard to switch to another class when you're winning the Arnold Classic, right?
Yeah.
It takes. He won the Arnold Classic last year, and he's switching to another class. It takes balls to do that.
Well, he's probably frustrated because he's bringing in a better version of himself,
and he's not winning. Yeah.
And not only is he not winning, but yeah, he's not winning the Olympia, but he's probably hearing like these guys are better than you in classic. Mm-hmm. So I mean, if you're a competitor, you have the choice of, okay, if I'm not going to win this division, because I don't think he can beat Chris Bumstead. I don't think he can beat Breon. I don't think he can beat a couple other people who he does beat. But that doesn't mean he's not. Only because they have, quote, more classic-looking physiques than he has. Yeah. Doesn't mean that they have more muscle or more density or more condition. So the natural, I would think, step is the one that he did to move into a different class.
And we're going to see Keon Pearson also move up to that 212, which is going to be also really interesting because he's another super freak. Yeah,
I think he's extremely. I think he can. I think he could have stayed in the classic and potentially won that class, and I think that he could do a lot of. He could do a lot of. I hate that word, but damage in the 212 as well.
For all we know, we could be seeing Peterson and Keon Pearson battling it out in 212 at the top of the class there, with some of the other, guys up there.
I mean, it anything could happen.
The truth is that, aside from Derek Lunsford, who has yet to deliver, his best, Kamal is winning, at almost 50 years old.
He'll be 49 at the Olympia this year.
Unbelievable, because he's bringing, tremendous conditioning in. He's got lines. He's got, density to his physique. And there's no one else out there who's got that. And obviously Lunsford hasn't figured out the equation yet.
You put your money on Lunsford or Kamal this year?
I think Kamal repeats. I really do.
Yeah.
I think he's the Olympia champ. And I think that Lunsford is going to have to bring a knockout punch, and I don't think he's going to do it. I don't think, unless he's flawless, I don't think he can beat Kamal, because I've never seen Kamal out of shape ever. Have you?
He's not been out of shape, but he's actually getting better. He's definitely better. We're at January. He's definitely better this January than he was last January.
The only thing that could stop him is an injury because of his age. Maybe
he hasn't had any, except the pulled calf the day before the Olympia 2 years ago.
That's right. So to me, the guys that are the most dangerous are the new guys. Peterson and Keon. And, I think it's going to take them 2 years before they really grow into that class enough where they're going to challenge for an Olympia title. But I think that's the future, really, of the class. And look, we said it all along. This classic division could be a nurturing ground for the Open in 212, which is fine by me. I don't care. I'd rather see these guys progress. It's like when I was a kid, my dad used to go crazy over the high school football he used to watch. He knew all these high school guys. I'm like, Dad, he would watch these high school football games. I don't know, they would have on, and he knew these guys before they would, and then they'd get to college, and he loved college football, and he knew them from high school. And I guess it's fun to watch these guys go from high school to college and then into the NFL, Same thing, that's almost like with bodybuilding. You go from classic up to 212, into the Open possibly, or maybe even men's physique into the classic, into the Open, That to me is exciting. All right, Chris. Anything else to add?
I didn't wish you a Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. That's right. We didn't do that. We didn't do a New Year's show.
I wrote it down, just like you wrote down that you were going to wish me happy birthday and Happy New Year and happy anniversary, and forgot all three of those. So I forgot.
Sometimes I say to myself, I'm the worst friend of all time. But the truth is that friends don't have any expectations, or shouldn't have any expectations.
No. I just lectured someone who felt guilty not coming to see me in Florida, and I told them, I said, that is the worst. I said, you don't even have to. I'm insulted that you have to, because he's definitely a friend of mine. Yeah, good friend, real friend. Mm-hmm. And I said, there's no need. Me knowing your schedule and your chaotic schedule. This is me talking to him. There's no need to tell me that. Oh, sorry, I couldn't make it. If you could have made it, you would have made it. You got other things going on.
Right. I don't. It's funny. I don't get insulted like if someone doesn't call me or if someone doesn't text me or my birthday. I don't care. It doesn't matter, because if you're my friend, you're my friend. There should be no expectations on friendship. But people put a lot of expectations on it. I've had relationships with people like for a long period of time. Friends, and they, I could do one silly thing or that they didn't like or something
they're
like that.
pissed. How did
And then they don't talk to me anymore.
Yeah, they write you off.
And they know my life is insane and that I have 3 young kids and stuff like that, and that sometimes just things I can't be everywhere. I can't go to all these to people's birthday parties and weddings and stuff like that. I just can't do it. I can only do so much. It doesn't mean I'm not thinking about the person and I don't care about them, but I never put expectations. Like, I've had people who I would consider good friends that I don't talk to for 5 years, and then all of a sudden they'll call me up out of the clear blue because maybe they had some rough stuff they were going through, or maybe I was busy, and then they'll just reconnect with me, and it'll be like I never stopped talking to them because they're friends.
It's amazing that you say that. Mike Francois said it best. Someone once said, "Are you friends with Chris?" And Mike says, "Oh yeah, we're great friends." And he said, "When's the last time you talked to him?" This was a while back. He said, "I think like 3-4 years ago."
Right.
This was, 3 years ago. And he said, "How could you consider him a friend?" He said, "Because if he called today, we'd just pick up right where we left off."
Yep, 100%. I could say that about my friends who I grew up with from high school. I don't talk to them, hardly ever talk to them. I talk to maybe one of them on a regular basis. And literally, if we all met at a restaurant, it would be like it was like yesterday we were together, There would be no uncomfortableness, awkwardness. It wouldn't matter. It would just be because we're friends. And I think a lot of people put a lot of expectations on their interactions with people. And as soon as you do that, you're not really a friend to someone.
It's a transactional friendship, right? Where, right. I did this to you, did this to me, so we can't be friends anymore. You said this about so-and-so, said this about, we're no longer friends.
I've told people, look, you know what? I can't be friends with you. I said, it's too difficult to be friends with you. They're like, what do you mean? I swear to God, I've said that to you, and I've insulted them. And you know what? I said, look, it's too much work because you know what? Every time I have to worry about if I have to call you or answer you or you're going to be upset or you're taking something the wrong way. I say, I can't be friends. It's stressing me out. I don't want to be friends with you. I said, I still wish the best to you. I think you're a great person. I think you're going to be very successful. I can't be your friend. If we see each other, I'll shake your hand. I'll say hello, but please, it's too much. You're too much. I swear. It's happened to more than one person I've said that to. And you know what? Of course, they got angry at me and they got pissed off at me, but I was being honest. And I said maybe they'll learn something because no one will give you that honesty, I said, maybe if I tell this person this, it'll actually wake them up about, who they really are. Probably didn't, but, you never know. Sometimes it does. So, well, happy New Year to everyone out there. And hopefully you guys had a good New Year's and a safe New Year's. And hopefully 2020 is going to be great for all of us. We just completed almost 10 years with RxMuscle. February, I think, 9th, I think will be the anniversary of it. And I'm looking forward to another 10 years.
Crazy.
Isn't it nuts? I can't even believe where the time went. It feels like yesterday we started this thing.
Well, another 10.
Yeah.
Another 10, but we got to start the show at midnight instead of 2 a.m.
Yeah, once we start getting old, we have to start earlier. Like, I got to get to the early bird special, Chris, it's that time again, as we say every week, with Heavy Muscle Radio.
The truth hurts.
Good night.